Okay guys, welcome to another video that I'm doing today. I decided to take a small, short little break from all the series I've been doing, which is Trials of Cold Steel and Tales of Symphonia, and I found this visual novel game called 6 Rules that looks interesting to me, so I figured we'd give it a shot and see what 6 Rules is all about. Now, I know it's got horror elements and stuff like that, I think, but it does look interesting to me, so I really thought we'd give this a shot. You know, we'll see what it's like. The noble Japanese clan of Minamoto, with its centuries of heritage, had quite a few strict rules. Okay, number 1. You must not let any strangers into the house, preferably not even into the forest in which we reside. 2. If you spot any strangers loitering around the property, alert us immediately. Well, okay, this isn't too bad. 3. You must converse with strangers as a gesture of friendliness, but never tell them where the house is located. We are hiding for safety, after all. Okay. Do not accept things from trespassers. Do not give things to trespassers either. Never, I repeat, never talk to those of the Taria family. 6. Got it? Do not trust the Taria clan. Jesus, okay. What the fuck's going on here? The young Minamoto... Excuse me. The young Minamoto... No, Ryuji never knew what was so serious about the 5th rule that it had to be repeated twice, but he obeyed them with unconditionally... Oh, them all unconditionally anyway. Being born into the Minamoto family warranted at least such dutiful behavior, after all. He had learned not to ask questions, because every time he did so, his father would burst into a rant, and it would take at least 10 minutes to subside. Shit. Look, child. I've told you. The Tarias humiliated and killed Lord Tamayoshi in cold blood. Even though we begged for them to show mercy, we will never forget what they have done. They are conniving. They are conniving and manipulative, and they will do anything to reach their goals. I've never seen that word before in a game. They humiliated us, and we will not forget it. It's because of them that we have to hide here like cowards, but we will not hide much longer. As part of the Minamoto clan, we have to fight. We have to fight against injustice, and for the honor of our family. His voice had been so exasperated. It was his usual, don't you dare speak another word, young man, or risk my battering cane voice. And so the boy had scooted away, half wanting to ask how they could possibly fight against them without having to break Rule 5. Who knows? Maybe fighting did not really need someone to open their mouth. All hail honor. Okay. Is that the child? I'm gonna go with maybe. Okay. Perhaps if he had known Lord Tamayoshi well enough, he would have grieved. His father certainly did, but back then Ryoji was too young, still was, to comprehend his plan. Ryoji longed for peace. If there was a way to prolong the tranquil, ideal lifestyle, he would. If by following those rules he could protect this life, he would. Seems straightforward so far to me. I mean, doesn't seem too bad. A portrait of Minamoto no Makoto hung over the mantelpiece, right outside the door to the boy's room. Every night before retiring, he would see the gallant face and stare in awe. He wanted to be just like him, he thought. Just like his ancestor, scholar, artist, war veteran, an able leader, kind, charismatic, admirable. He did not know when he started having these thoughts. But ever since years back, he noticed that he was too young, too unnoticed. He had way too many older brothers and sisters to be thought of as anyone special. Naturally, with his own friendly smile and polite mannerisms, he grew to become a favorite child among the adults. Still, that would only last for as long as he was a child. His name was written at the bottom of the scroll anyways. He couldn't help but fear. What would happen once he grew up? What if he grew up to be a nobody? In the end, that portrait was the only thing that kept him motivated to stay awake. To become like Minamoto no Makoto. Then that became his one and only dream. He grew up with that ambition in mind, which motivated him every waking day. Slowly, he crafted another side of himself, on which he would smile like a cute child in front of the adults in his clan, and another which he would sneak out of the house once in a while. Searching for a high and windy spot close to nature, a wide open space, maybe somewhere where he'd be able to think about his dreams. Even in the middle of the cold winter, pushing through the hedges excitedly, he reflected on those valiant ambitions. Crunch, crunch. Okay, that's the sound effects. Layers and layers of snow crushed beneath his feet. It was a nice sound. Minamoto no Makoto was a man who appreciated the sound of nature, his father had once said. Well, he thought wistfully, so am I. In his heart, there was nothing greater than the shining figure of hope he gave himself, the figure of his success and heroic ancestor, the man who could achieve happiness both for himself and everyone else. How unfortunate his untimely death had been, for Minamoto no Makoto was the epitome of greatness. He was a legend, one that the Minamoto clan would remember for years to come. That was why he never missed a single day of practice, never missed a single day of studying, just so he could prove himself worthy of the saga Minamoto no Makoto. The winters were mild in Japan. Nevertheless, when snow fell, most people would have the common sense to stay indoors. That day was one of those days, yet, despite the cold weather and the steadily falling snow, he did not break his tradition. Every month, every day, he would do it without fail. The wooden katana-shaped bakuto hanging at his hip made a pleasant clickety-clank sound. With scrolls tucked tightly under his left arm, he pressed forward. On the path among the trees he walked, pushing the branches out of his way, until he reached that familiar clearing, which was his only place for perfect self-improvement. This is kind of a decent story at this time. Except this time, he found someone else already there. Oh, shit. Okay, 1. You must not let any strangers into the house, preferably not even the forest we reside in. Remembering that rule and feeling a strong surge of pride, he clicked his tongue, annoyed. The forest belonged to his family, the aristocratic family of Minamoto at that. Any trespasser deserved to be beheaded, though surely Roju himself was not that cold-hearted as to insist on something like that. Surely, since his family never put up a gate or any other form of security to prevent intruders, it could be argued that you cannot possibly call any Tom, Dick, or Harry who stumbles in by accident a trespasser. Still, he was irritated at the thought of one of those precious golden rules being broken. Stomping on the ground as hard as he could to assert his superiority, he decided to confront the intruder, but stopped himself at the last minute. He gulped and sighed. Oh, it was only a young girl, perhaps 9 or 10 years of age, sitting on the cozy bamboo swing, fast asleep. Her long, dark hair cascaded down her back in stark contrast with her white skin and the snow around her, and she was decked in a beautiful snow-white kimono. A lacy parcel lay on the ground beside her. In the end, he could not bear to disturb such a white, picturesque scene, and slightly berated himself for even considering appearing superior. After all, Minamoto did not discriminate. It was not as if he would be unable to ignore the presence of a sleeping girl. With that, he moved slightly to a corner and began to open his scrolls to read. No, it was simply getting much too cold. He couldn't help but glance, grumbling at the girl taking the spot on his favorite swing. Usually Minamoto no Riju was a boy with a great thirst for knowledge, yet today he was unable to absorb a single word. Perhaps he just was not in the mood to study, he told himself, as he put his scrolls down and prepared his bokuto for practice. He swung it aimlessly around for a few times, and gave up, angry at himself. He lowered his sword, sighing. His performance was much poorer than the day before, and with no other changes around, he decided to attribute it all to the girl's presence. As he folded his scrolls, he pursed his lips and thought, the reason why we would put in the extra effort to go out of the house was because he enjoyed nature, and he enjoyed the breeze. But most of all, he enjoyed his time alone. For another person to be here, sleeping or not, his own world had pretty much been invaded. There was no way he could concentrate. He might as well have just been home, listening to the endless jabbering of his brothers comparing their sword skills over a flame. Grumbling incoherently, he sat on a log that was covered with a thin carpet of snow and fiddled with the hilt of his katana. Not used to staring at people, he averted his eyes from the snow-white girl and looked up towards the similarly white sky at the steadily falling snow. After a couple of minutes, he decided to pack up and go home. Just as he turned to leave, he felt a small tug at the back of his clothes. So is the little girl getting playful now? He wants to play around with him? Or something? Riju jerked around immediately. Jesus, she looks sickly. There was the snow girl, wide awake, almost completely white from head to toe, save from her dark hair and eyes. Her eyes aren't dark. He stared at her, not sure what to say. You were awake? She shook her head slowly. There was something almost mechanical about her emotions. Just woke up. Saw you there. Thought I'd apologize for intruding. Her voice was slow. Oh, I guess I read that fast then. It sounded as if the snow had chipped her sentences up. Riju flushed. I don't know. Not Riju, it's like Raiji or something. I don't know. He had no intention of blaming her, and her apology felt utterly awkward. No, I don't mind that at all. You can stay for as long as you wish. Her eyes widened in fear. Riju, curious, looked around frantically, just to see that what the girl feared was the sword at his hip. He let out a low chuckle. Don't worry, it's just a fake. A fake? Yes, a fake. It won't hurt you. Oh. She glanced aside. Were you leaving? Certainly, he had planned to leave, but that was only because he decided that training was impossible today, and because there was nothing better to do here anyway. In the end, he decided to tell the truth. Yes, I was. But since you're awake, mind telling me why you're here in the first place? I mean, I was just curious, that's all. He certainly hoped that he didn't sound as if he were interrogating her, and he was inwardly relieved that she did not appear to know that he was a Minamoto. The snow girl seemed like a terribly fragile doe that would take off at the slightest hint of hostility. She would definitely have run away if she had known that the boy before her was an aristocrat's son. It would be pretty upsetting if he had made a young girl run away like a small woodland creature just because of this identity. But she did not look at all perturbed. Like a crystal statue, she just stood there in her frost-laden winter clothes, not even lifting a hand to brush the snow off her shoulders. No, accident. Thought I'd rest. Okay, that... just... an accident? Was she telling the truth? He didn't know if she was lying, but he brushed away that possibility as being quite improbable, so I don't think there's any horror here, but it's actually kind of an intriguing, it's a heartfelt story, something I'm not used to on this channel, at least. I'm used to Corpse Party and the horror games and the RPGs with the twists and the kills and the blah, blah, blah. Okay, the snow girl seemed terribly pure and honest. He just couldn't seem to bring himself to doubt her. Yet, why would such a young girl be out here alone? After all, her clothes did not look like those of a peasant, and she certainly should have guardians. Riju did not know how to answer any of the questions in his mind, but one thing was certain. If he did not take care of this lost girl, then who would? It was hardly safe for a woman to be out alone without an escort, let alone a little girl. Then I'll show you the way home. No need. There was something very crisp and simple in her curt response. Came out to explore. No need to be back home until evening. I will be fine. She did not smile, and her speech continued to be as fragile and sharp as icicles, but the boy felt his heart warm at this awkwardness. Inwardly, he was glad that this girl didn't seem so used to people. The reason why he left the house in the first place was because he was tired of the excessive noise and the merriment in his own home. What will you be doing then? It's cold and it's pretty boring out here. I don't think it's boring. She looked down at her shoes, pursing her lips. Riju gave her a light smile and patted the snow off the log next to him. The girl looked at him awkwardly. She then walked over, taking her time, and sat gingerly on the log next to him. My name is Riju. What's yours? Normally it was courtesy to introduce himself by his surname, but he didn't think she would mind. She turned towards him, surveying him with her glass-like eyes. Ryoji? Probably Ryoji. Yeah. Yeah? She looked away and spoke more to herself than anyone else. Ryoji. Minamoto no Ryoji. Whoa, okay. You fucking knew? Ryoji stared at her, a little taken back. How did you know? I'm correct, right? Well, yes. But how did you know that? She pointed at his kimono. The crest on your clothes. Ryoji flushed furiously. Certainly the crest of the Minamoto was still embedded on his shawl. He felt like a fool. Forget I asked that. The girl gave a small hint of a smile. Okay. So what's your name? Yuki. Yuki. Is that your given name? Sort of. She looked down, staring at her hands. I like the snow. No surprises there. Why? You just look like the type. But I never told anyone. Never mind that. So, why do you like it? It's cold. Is that a good thing, though? I thought people normally like to stay warm. It's hot at home, like a furnace. Tell me about your home? It's too colorful. Is that a bad thing? There are too many colors. The snow is just white. It's nice. Jesus, you're kind of depressing, but I kind of get what you're coming from. I like black, not white. I like the color black. White's too bright. She sure was strange. That wasn't something he could really associate with. After all, I like colors, though. I was actually a little dismayed when I realized it was getting so snowy. This place looked dazzling in autumn. All reds and yellows. He gave a small sigh. But yeah, I guess it gets tiring sometimes. I think you're happy. Well, yeah, I am, kind of. Yuki stared at him, tilting her head, and gave a small smile. Okay. Jesus, you are like robotic or something. You're very antisocial to me. Ryoji looked wistfully into the horizon. It's getting late. You should leave now. Are you sure you don't want me to take you home? There's no need. You should go home first. Well, I'm not going home until I make sure you're going to be alright. I'll take you out of the forest, at least. I'm fine. It's not too hard to get out of here. Out from me, sir. Are you sure? She nodded, and then she patted her dress and stood up. I'm leaving. Thank you for talking to me. Bye. See you again. She didn't respond and disappeared into the trees. Ryoji watched her leave and turned in the other direction to head back. But this time, Ryoji skipped home with a spring in his step. Yuki, huh? It means snow. Such a lovely name. Such a surprisingly suitable name. Okay, Minamoto no Ryoji did not expect to see her again. But then there she was, seated at the wooden swing, staring glassily into the distance. In her white hands there was a wooden flute, and she was puffing her cheeks up and playing a simple tune. The moment she saw him, she turned towards him and tilted her head. He could have sworn a hint of a smile appeared on her face for a second. Hello. Hello, Minamoto no Ryoji. Are you here to read again today? Surprised to see her take the initiative this time, she shook his head. He shook his head immediately. Nope, I just thought I'd be able to see you. He realized what he said, and flushed furiously at how cheesy his statement must have sounded. Idiot, he berated himself. She's a girl! Do you know that such a thing would be completely and utterly inappropriate to say to a woman who isn't your fiancée? However, Yuki did not seem at all taken aback, and he sighed in relief. So, anyway, you play the flute? Yes, Mama taught me. That's nice. I wish my parents taught me something. Now, that's brutal. They spend most of their time teaching my brothers. Okay. I mean, it's not like they never talk to me or anything. They talk to me a lot, actually. It gets tiring. That's why I like to come somewhere quiet. It feels better, don't you think? The next minute of silence felt icy cold. Finally, Yuki whispered something. It was not loud enough for him to make out the words, so he turned towards her and questioned. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. What'd you say? Did you tell your parents about me? Huh? No? I see. Huh? Oh. He broke a rule. Shit. If you spot any strangers loitering around the property, alert us immediately. Suddenly he remembered that rule. Yuki's question had unintentionally reminded him of yet another rule he had just broken. He hadn't thought he would break any more rules after his first, but he had to, for fear his parents would probably forbid her from entering the forest if he alerted them. Still, She did not know about the rule. Why would she ask such a question? Her expression was hard to read, and he couldn't help but feel chilly all of a sudden. Maybe the weather was turning bad again. The icy feel vanished as fast as it had come. Yuki was looking down at her shoes again. Just worried about people talking about me. Okay, thank Christ. Whew! I thought she was gonna know about the rules and try to fuck everything up for me. It's just startling. Oh. Ryoji laughed at himself for this excessive paranoia. He chuckled, tickled by her bashful appearance. Still, the nagging feeling in his heart berated him for breaking 2 family rules in just 2 days. The girl watched him in confusion with her large eyes, and after perhaps reaching the conclusion that he was laughing at her, she turned away and looked downwards again. Sorry, I just thought of something funny, that's all. You were laughing at me. No, I wasn't. She turned away and started staring at the pile of snow beneath the swing. That wasn't good. He needed to flash his charming token smile again to bring her out of her shell. He didn't mean to brag, but everyone loved his smile. All the adults called him a little angel child. Hadn't his smile once resulted in an entire village fawning over him like bees drawn to honey? His smile would earn anyone's trust, even that of the adults. It probably worked on this girl, too. Or she wouldn't have come today, would she? Stop making that face. What? I'm not making any faces. Your face. You have a really suspicious-looking smile. No, I don't. I'm just being friendly. She gazed at him again, with that very critical look. He gulped. Her expression was mostly blank, though, and slightly bothered. You should go home. It's snowing. You can't train or read. But I wanted to take a break for today. Take breaks at home, then. It's better. What are you doing here, then? Shouldn't you be taking a break at home? Yuki stopped kicking at the pile of snow in front of her. I like the snow. Ryoji grinned cheekily. Me too. So I'm staying here. Yuki gave her another critical stare, and Ryoji held his hands up as if as if to show that he was unarmed. Finally, she turned away and gave a curt nod. Don't be so cold. If neither of us want to go home, we'll both be stuck here until one of us does. Okay. Where are you from, anyway? Japan. She might as well have answered this world or something equally generic. Oh, that's great. I'm from Japan, too. I never would have known you were from the same place. She looked away again and eyed the dense foliage vacantly. He looked up in an effort to seem occupied and noticed that the sky was turning dark. Well, I guess I'll need to go home now. Will you be here again tomorrow? Yes. Is your house nearby, in this forest? It was a very offhand question, and so Ryoji didn't think there was anything wrong in answering her. Yeah, it's just a bit off that way, he said, pointing towards the trees without thinking. Wait! 3. You may converse with strangers as a gesture of friendliness, but never tell them where the house is located. We are hiding for safety, after all. Breaking 3 rules in just 2 days. Just what was wrong with him? He clamped his mouth shut before he could reveal anything else. But the girl did not seem malicious, nor did she seem disappointed or dissatisfied with the sudden paused response. He sighed in relief. It doesn't matter. Nobody will ever know. You're fucking up. The snow did stop falling. The next day he woke up early in the morning and ran off to the market to get his mother a birthday present. After passing rows and rows of shops, he finally settled on one that was selling hair accessories. A deep, sophisticated blue is quite the color in demand, young master. The shopkeeper cackled gaily, something like that, showing off an array of brilliantly blue ribbons. For you, young sir, I will sell 2 for the price of 1. In the end, he left the shop, satisfied with his purchase. When he approached the clearing, he was shocked to see Yuki lying flat on the ground, trying to reach for something in a large pit. He sped over immediately and grabbed her by the collar, causing both of them to fall flat onto the snow. What do you think you're doing? Okay. He crawled up slowly to brush the snow off of her kimono, looking slightly disappointed. He noticed the silver hairpins that she had worn the previous day were no longer there. Her black hair was flying all over the place from the wind. My pin dropped into the pit. Still, you can't go get it back like that. He realized that he was worried for her, and he was raising his voice in an effort to not burst out crying tears of relief. Leave it there. It's not worth risking your life for. Sorry. Walking away from the pit, she sat on the log again and tried to stop her hair from flying into her face. Without thinking, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a blue ribbon. He walked over to her and, without saying a word, secured the loose strands of hair behind her ear. She tensed up in surprise, but did not push him away. There, better? He stood back to admire his handiwork. Blue really does look good on you, huh? A pale tint of color appeared on her cheeks, and she nodded. Jesus, don't accept things from trespassers. Don't give things to trespassers either. There was another rule broken, yet he no longer minded as long as he could see her this happy. Watching her gently touch the ribbon near her ear, he grinned and leaned against a tree, waiting for her to say something about it. Thank you. You did not have to give it to me. What can I do to repay you? Ryoji didn't expect any payment, and so her response took him by surprise. However, there was a nagging question in his head that needed to be answered, and so he decided it was about time to muster the courage to ask her. You can start by answering a question for me. I was wondering for a while now. Your clothes don't seem like that of a common pauper's or something. She froze, and he was starting to regret his statement already. Still, he pressed on. What family are you from? I might have heard the name. He paused awkwardly. But you don't have to tell me if you don't want to. She did not look uneasy, as if she had expected such a question from the very beginning, and she had no problem answering. It's okay. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. Taria no Yukiri. Ah, you're from the family. So you just broke 2 more rules. Huh? My name. He stood there for a few seconds. Something was wrong, but he did not know what. Only just that then did the girl's words suddenly register, like a puzzle piece which clicked into place. Wait, Taria? Never, I repeat, never talk to those from the Taria family. Ryoji? He only just realized that his mouth was gaping open. Taria no Yukiri was watching him with a concerned look in her eyes. However, this time, the air felt dead. He could not even hear the sounds of the birds chirping. Ryoji barely knew the Lord Tamayoshi was. But how many times had he passed his father's chambers when he was sitting up at night, oil lamp lit and shivering at his desk, struggling not to cry? How many times had he watched that and wished that things would have ended up differently for his father and his entire family? If they had no need to hide from society after the rebellion, if his family hadn't had to live in fear of being discovered. Ryu? Don't trust her. She's one of the Tarias. The Taria clan humiliated us. We do not forgive. We do not forget. They are convening and manipulative and... Is there something wrong? Are you ill? She appeared genuinely worried. She leaned over and slightly tried to touch his forehead, but he jumped back immediately. What did your father tell you? It was repeated twice in the rules list. This is no small matter. You can break all the rules except for this one. This is a serious. It is the one rule you must never break. They are our enemies. Don't trust them. They'll kill you, and they will step on your face laughing. Oh, for goodness sake. She's a 10-year-old girl. Still. He was against all morals to stereotype. In the end, he hung his head shamefully, balling his fists. Yuki was Yuki. It did not matter which family she was from. She was curious, she was innocent, and she was a good friend. He would not let such silly rules bind him from doing what he wanted anymore. After all, he was already guilty of breaking more than half of them. With that, he tried to settle down his thoughts. I'm sorry. She looked confused, but he continued to think aloud. Yeah, the rest of the Tarias may be like that, but you're different, Yuki. With those words, he broke into a wide smile. Huh? Her face, still flooded with confusion, slowly turned icy again, and she looked down. It seemed that the reason for this boy's dilemma had finally made sense to her. You don't like my family very much, do you? However, his decision was made, and his answer was firm. It doesn't matter where you're from, Yuki. You are my friend, and I like you, see? He grinned again and patted her on the shoulder. This time, she did not tense. Instead, she relaxed and turned towards him. So, how do you write your name, anyway? You kitty, huh? Yuki looked at him with wide eyes, curious. Why don't you guess? You can't guess it, I bet. Heh, that's not fair. Yuki-ri, right? Your Yuki is definitely the word for snow, I bet. The problem is the Ri. Is your name made from the words snow and lily? No. Or snow and pear. Ryoji clumsily laid a piece of scrap parchment from his scrolls on the swing. What are you doing? I brought my brushes today. Let's see if I can guess your name right. Ryoji dipped his brush in ink and started writing. Yuki watched him incredulously. Eventually, he wrote a list of names and held the paper up for Yuki to see. Yuki stared at all the guesses, her expression unreadable. So, did I get it right? Well, I'm bound to have gotten one right. Here, take them. Whichever the right one is, just keep that one. He laid the scroll slowly onto Yuki's outstretched palms. She picked it up delicately, afraid of ripping it. Okay. Ryoji puffed his chest out proudly. Anyway, my calligraphy isn't bad, is it? It's okay. Hey, you were supposed to say it's great. Hey, Ryu. What is it, Yuki? What would you do if the world ended tomorrow? Huh? Why would you ask that? That's a good place, I think, to save it and end this episode here for today, so please comment, like, subscribe. Tell me what you all thought of this episode, and I'm going to finish it up hopefully in the next episode. So take care until then, guys, and bye-bye. So here we are in episode 2 of 6 Rules, guys. So, in episode 1, we had the adorable Ryoji and... why did I forget her name already? Yuki. There we go. Don't know why I forgot that name so quick. Seeing as I'm recording it like 20 minutes after the first episode. Anyway, we had the adorable little story going on, except this little bugger here from the, his family, her being from the other family, that, they're not supposed to coincide. He broke, like, pretty much every rule to go see her, and he's still breaking almost pretty much every rule. I think she's probably doing the same. Go see the first episode if you want to see all the rules that he had broke. I think that's probably the main part of this thing, seeing as it's called 6 Rules. It would make sense, but it's kind of an adorable little story, except she gave us a bombshell at the end, so what would you do if the world ended tomorrow? Just like that. So let's continue on. Huh? Why do you ask that? Do you know of something? Never mind. Ryoji turned back to look at her questioningly. She looked at the ground aimlessly, as if being drawn into the patterns of the snow. Yuki? Her head shot up. It's nothing. Good day to you, Minamoto no Ryoji. She looked at him. This time she was smiling, really happily. It was an angelic smile. A smile that he would never forget. No, seriously, don't trust the Taria clan. Is this village burning? Oh. Okay. Okay, is this what she meant by the world ending? Is this what she... This is a lie, right? This is a dream, right? I'll wake up. I'll wake up. I'll wake up and everything will be fine. It had only been a few weeks, yet everything had turned upside down. Why had his family needed to hide? Ryoji hated himself for having forgotten such a simple fact. Flames were licking the grand house and all the way to the skies, yet he could do nothing but watch, horrified, frozen, as death cries echoed from the place he used to call home. He could not move. If he moved, he would be caught and killed too, just like the rest of his family, by the ruthless, heartless Taria clan. He realized that much too late. Footsteps approached his hiding place, footsteps of a young child. He looked up and saw her. Oh, you little bitch. Really? There, 3 meters away from where he hid, she watched him with a gaze of mock wistfulness. He felt a horrible chill emanate from those dark eyes. The chill froze his entire body. Right now, the only thought clawing at his mind was that he was going to die. She's a liar, she's a liar, she's a liar, she's a murderer, she's a demon. She smiled an angelic smile, which in such a situation would be the smile of a demon. It made his blood run cold as the fact finally registered in his mind. From the moment she stepped into the forest, she had planned for my doom. Yet he had fallen so cleanly into that trap. Why? His voice was almost an inaudible croak. Perhaps at this moment, he still had a small shimmer of hope that the Yuki that was his friend did indeed exist, somewhere hidden within the demon that stood before him. Yet her cold face turned him otherwise. As he searched the eyes of the girl whom he once called a friend, he found nothing but emptiness. A Tadia man, presumably her father, approached her from behind and put his hand on her shoulders. He leered at the cowering boy, while the girl's gaze continued to linger on him, emotionless and cold, just like the snow. Murderer. You murderer, you traitor, I'll never forgive you. He had no friend named Yuki. Everything was a cruel, cruel lie. In the midst of his despair, Ryoji did not know how much time had passed. Footsteps resounded through the hallways, and he turned to the very person he dreaded to see. The Tadias are our sworn enemy. Good day, young Master Minamoto. Very solibly of his name was stressed mockingly by the Tadia Harris, as if she was singing a lullaby. I just thought I'd pay you a visit before they come for your head. What could have possessed you to commit such a sinful act? Killing your own family. Oh, you poor dear. I really thought you were a kind boy. My, the gods have mercy on your soul. You shut up. Oh my, is that the devil speaking? Such foul words. There is no use arguing. He wasn't going to beg that girl for mercy. Who had the upper hand right now? He knew that full well. She collapsed her hands and smiled. There is no ribbon in her hair, but there was a new set of hairpins adorning it. Her shimmering black hair and white skin made her look like an angel in the midst of this dark, damp hellhole. However, he knew that she was a demon. He realized it that much too late. They are manipulative and conniving. Rule number 1, you must not let strangers into the house, preferably not even those of the forest in which you reside. She chanted as if reciting a nursery rhyme. Rule number 2, if you spot any strangers near the property, alert your parents immediately. Poor Mr. Minamoto. If you'd just told your parents, why, I'd be the one in your place right now. Too bad that didn't happen, did it? You must listen to them. Hatred filled his entire body, so thick and so malicious that he could feel it dripping from his ears. He tried to keep his voice steady, knowing that getting agitated would just amuse her even more. You didn't usually speak like this. Don't trust them. Tadia crossed her arms and smiled. Except this time it was not her usual angelic smile. It was an empty, cruel smirk that was utterly alien on the charming face of the little girl. Of course, I can speak normally, Mr. Minamoto. What did you expect? She closed her eyes and twirled. For me to speak in broken sentences like this? They will do anything to reach their goals. Rule number 3, never tell the strangers where your house is located. You're great, Mr. Minamoto, spilling your family secrets so easily. It was so pathetic. Ryoji gritted his teeth and spoke lowly. I'll never forgive you. She looked amused, a smile playing on her lips. Oh dear, what am I going to do if you don't forgive me? As Tadia continued to chant like a small child she was, he could not stop his shaking. She couldn't be the same girl he had known. She must have been a different person, he thought desperately. No way could he possibly have let himself be tricked so masterfully by a girl. His pride would not allow it. They will take everything from you. Where is the ribbon I gave you? He whispered, unable to suppress his quivering voice. Deep in his heart, he still wished that the girl in front of him was somehow possessed and indoctrinated. Anything else. If that were the case, she won't remember any ribbon, he told himself desperately. Tadia no Yuriki stopped chanting and turned towards him, an amused expression on her fine features. The Tadias killed Minamoto no Tamayoshi in cold blood. I dropped it. She shook her head in an expression of mock ruefulness before she smirked again. What were the chances of me keeping a ribbon that has been soiled by the tainted hands of a Minamoto anyway? Of course, I don't mean to insult you, so please don't be too harsh on me, Mr. Minamoto, okay? Another pure smile lit her face up as she clasped her hands innocently like a young child begging for a cookie, and he felt his insides churn. Rule number 4, don't accept things from trespassers. Don't give things to trespassers either. So, I'm returning this to you. Between her fingers dangled a crumpled piece of parchment, matted with ash and half burned. I'd like you to keep it. It's a really nice calligraphy, but you wrote my name wrong, you see? It's Yukiri, not Yukiri. I'm sorry to ruin your dreams, Minamoto, but my name is more of mist and fog variety than the pretty snow pears or lilies you dreamt of. Also, my calligraphy is prettier than yours, but I'm sure you can see that by now. They killed Lord Tamayoshi, and now they'll kill you too. They'll kill you! But his anger took over his fear, ignited by how betrayed he felt. That betrayal fueled his hatred to no end. He truly thought she was his friend. He thought he cared for her. So why did this happen? Because you broke the rules. You should have listened. Why didn't you listen? Rule number 5. She paused. Never talk to those of the Tadia family. See? You should have just ignored me after I told you my name. Instead, you went on and on talking about your family and all. It was so tiring to listen to. If I hadn't have been tasked to listen to your rambling, I would have just gone to sleep. She shook her head, smiling sadly. Ryoshi was shaking. If he could just break out of here. Her smile faded. Her face was blank, unreadable. Was it frustration? Disappointment? Nothing? See, you should have just ignored me after I told you my name. Why did you... Ryoshi! Why didn't you, Ryoshi? Her face looked as if she was blaming him for everything. Huh? Why would she be blaming him? Tadi had won, hadn't she? However, she looked disappointed, dejected even. She looked down, absent-mindedly, kicking at the gravel on the ground, clenching her fists. Yuki? Then she lifted her head again, smiling, as if the past 10 seconds never happened. With an elegant bow, she finished. Rule number 6, don't trust the Tadia clan, Minamoto-kun. Wow! Thank you for playing 6 rules. Okay, so, you know what, this is not going to be a 2-parter. I'm just going to slap this in with part 1. So I'll put text in saying part 1 and part 2 are just mixed together, because I didn't know it was going to be that short afterwards. I thought there was going to be like another 20 to 30 minutes. That was screwed up. I'll say that. I'll just save it on that. Okay, the guy, you know, we went into the woods, we found a girl. I knew she was of the Taria clan when we first saw her. But then I thought that, you know, they were going to make it or something, and their parents was going to separate them, or parents was going to kill them both, or something like that. But no, she betrayed him? Which is quite saddening, honestly. The extra section's been unlocked. Like, what the fuck? Like, honestly. Another view? It would have been nice. Snow. But that was a funky existence. I don't know what this is. I'll look at this later and maybe go into that maybe sometime. Because another view might be her side or something. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this version of 6 rules or whatever. I hope you enjoyed this game 6 rules. Hope to see you all in the next video I do. I might do another episode of 6 rules, like actual episode 2, and do that another view because that might be her view. We will see. Hope you all enjoyed though. Take care until the next video. I'll see you all then. Bye bye.